You have been a target your entire life, and you thought it was random. Every toxic person who entered your orbit seemed to find you by accident. Every manipulator, every energy vampire, every narcissist somehow locked onto you like a heat-seeking missile. But it was not random. It was never random. You were selected. Niccolò Machiavelli studied predators in human form. He watched how certain people became constant victims while others walked through the same environments untouched. And he discovered something that will change how you see yourself. Toxic people do not target randomly. They target based on signals you are sending that you do not even know you are broadcasting. Tonight you learn what makes toxic people choose you, and more importantly, what makes them stop. This is not about being cruel. This is not about becoming toxic yourself. This is about changing the signals you broadcast so predators pass you by and hunt easier prey. Once you understand this, you will never be targeted the same way again. Toxic people are predators. And like all predators, they select their prey carefully. They do not waste energy on targets that will fight back effectively. They do not risk injury on prey that might damage them. They look for specific signals that indicate an easy victim. And you have been broadcasting those signals without realizing it. The first signal is over-empathy. You feel other people's pain deeply. You want to help. You want to fix. You want to save. Toxic people smell this from across a room. To them, your empathy is not a virtue. It is a weakness they can exploit. They know you will tolerate their behavior because you will make excuses for them. You will see their pain. You will understand their trauma. You will give them chance after chance because you believe people can change. The second signal is conflict avoidance. You hate confrontation. You will do almost anything to keep the peace. You will swallow insults. You will ignore boundary violations. You will accept disrespect rather than create uncomfortable situations. Toxic people test for this immediately. They push small boundaries first. When you say nothing, they know you are safe to abuse. The third signal is the need for approval. You want people to like you. You adjust your behavior to please others. You sacrifice your needs to maintain relationships. Toxic people use this like a control panel. They give and withdraw approval strategically, training you to perform for their validation. The fourth signal is self-doubt. You question yourself constantly. You second-guess your perceptions. You wonder if you are too sensitive, too demanding, too difficult. Toxic people amplify this. They gaslight you. They make you doubt your reality. And because you already doubted yourself, their manipulation finds fertile ground. These four signals created a target on your back. Every toxic person who found you recognized these patterns and knew you would be easy to exploit. This is why the same types keep appearing in your life. You are not cursed. You are broadcasting a frequency that attracts predators. The first step to stopping toxic people from targeting you is disrupting the signals that attracted them. This is not about pretending to be different. This is about actually becoming someone who is not worth the effort to manipulate. Start with your empathy. Your empathy is not the problem. The problem is undisciplined empathy. You give it to everyone equally, including people who use it against you. From now on, your empathy is earned. New people in your life get polite neutrality. They get basic respect, but they do not get your emotional investment until they prove they are safe. Watch how they treat others. Watch how they respond to boundaries. Watch how they handle not getting their way. Toxic people reveal themselves quickly if you are watching for patterns instead of believing their words. When you see the red flags, you do not empathize with their excuses. You do not make allowances for their behavior. You remove them from your life before they establish a foothold. This disrupts the first signal. You are no longer the person who understands and forgives everything. You are the person who sees clearly and removes threats efficiently. Next, eliminate conflict avoidance. This does not mean becoming aggressive. This means becoming comfortable with necessary confrontation. When someone crosses a boundary, you address it immediately. Not with anger, not with drama, with calm directness. That does not work for me. Do not speak to me that way. I am not available for that. These simple statements, delivered without emotion, completely change how people perceive you. Toxic people rely on your silence. They rely on you swallowing your discomfort. When you speak up the first time they test you, they realize you are not an easy target. Most will move on immediately because you just became more work than you are worth. Then address your need for approval. This is the hardest signal to disrupt because it is deeply wired. But it is possible. Start by noticing when you are adjusting your behavior to please someone. Catch yourself mid-adjustment and stop. Let them be displeased. Let them disapprove. Practice tolerating their negative reactions without trying to fix them. The toxic person who controls you through approval only has power if you need their approval. The moment you stop needing it, their primary weapon is gone. Finally, eliminate self-doubt in your interactions. When someone tells you that you are too sensitive, you do not wonder if they are right. You trust your feelings and maintain your boundary. When someone tells you that you misunderstood them, you do not immediately accept their version. You trust what you saw and heard. This does not mean you are never wrong. This means you stop letting others override your perception as a default pattern. Toxic people cannot gaslight someone who trusts their own reality. These signal disruptions work like an invisibility cloak. The toxic people who would have targeted the old you cannot see the new you. You are no longer broadcasting the frequencies they hunt for. Machiavelli understood that sometimes the best defense is to become what your enemy fears. Toxic people fear one thing above all others. They fear someone who operates exactly like they do but with better control. When you mirror their tactics back at them without emotion, they recognize a predator and they retreat. This is not about becoming toxic, this is about speaking the language they understand. When a manipulator tries emotional manipulation, you remain completely unmoved. You do not react, you do not try to fix their feelings. You simply observe their performance with cold detachment. This unnerves them because it is not the response they expected. When a narcissist seeks supply from you, you give them nothing, no reaction, no attention, no emotional response whatsoever. You become a mirror that reflects nothing back. They see themselves, and only themselves. This is terrifying to them, because narcissists need reflection from others to maintain their self-image. When a gaslighter tries to make you doubt reality, you do not argue. You simply state your truth once and refuse to discuss it further. I know what I saw. This conversation is over. Then you leave. No explanation, no defense, no debate. This breaks their primary tool. When someone uses guilt to control you, you feel the guilt, recognize it as manipulation, and do exactly what you were going to do anyway. You do not justify, you do not explain, you act as if their guilt trip did not happen. This makes guilt trips worthless against you. The mirror defense works because toxic people are cowards. They hunt prey, not predators. When you reflect their energy back with better discipline, you reclassify yourself in their mind. You move from prey to threat. And threats do not get targeted. They get avoided. Practice this in small interactions first. When someone uses a manipulation technique, identify it silently and respond with the mirror defense. Do not announce what you are doing. Just do it. Watch how quickly their behavior toward you changes. They will either escalate briefly to test if you are serious, or they will immediately withdraw and find an easier target. Either way, you win. If they escalate, you remove them completely. If they withdraw, they leave you alone. The mirror defense is not about revenge. It is about communication. You are communicating in their language that you are not prey. And predators understand this language instantly. Machiavelli taught that people calculate cost versus benefit in every interaction. Toxic people target you because the benefit of abusing you outweighs the cost. They get supply, control, drama, or whatever they seek, and they pay almost nothing for it. You must reverse this equation. You must make yourself so expensive to abuse that the cost exceeds any possible benefit. This is done through immediate and disproportionate consequences. When someone disrespects you, the consequence is not proportional. It is massive. They make one snide comment and you remove them from your life completely. No discussion, no second chance, no working it out. One violation and they are gone. This seems extreme to people who have never understood power. But it is precisely this extremeness that creates protection. When the cost of testing you one time is total removal, people do not test you. They cannot afford to. Apply this everywhere. In your workplace, when someone tries to manipulate you, you document everything and report to HR immediately. You do not handle it quietly. You make it official and costly for them. In your relationships, when someone crosses a boundary, you do not explain why it hurt. You simply withdraw all access. They lose your time, your attention, your presence, completely and immediately. In your social circles, when someone creates drama, you do not engage with the drama. You remove yourself from any situation they are in. They get to choose between changing their behavior or never having access to you. Most will not believe you are serious at first. They will test whether you really mean it. This is when you must be absolute. One test, one violation, and the consequence is executed without discussion. After you do this twice, word spreads. People realize that trying to use you as a target is not worth the cost. You become known as someone who does not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or drama. This reputation protects you far better than any defense ever could. The cost principle works because humans are fundamentally transactional. We do more of what benefits us and less of what costs us. When you make abuse cost everything, abuse stops. Not because people suddenly respect you, but because they cannot afford to disrespect you. Toxic people feed on emotional reactions. Your anger fuels them. Your hurt satisfies them. Your confusion entertains them. Your tears give them power. They are emotional vampires, and your emotions are their blood supply. The moment you become emotionally unavailable to them, they starve. This is not about suppressing your emotions. This is about strategic expression. You feel everything, but you reveal nothing to people who have not earned access to your inner world. When a toxic person tries to provoke you, you feel the anger rise. You acknowledge it internally. Then you let it pass through you without external expression. Your face remains neutral. Your voice remains calm. You respond with facts instead of feelings. This denies them the supply they were seeking. When someone tries to hurt you with criticism, you feel the hurt. You process it privately. But to them, you appear completely unaffected. You might even thank them for their opinion with obvious insincerity. This confuses and frustrates them because they did not get the reaction they wanted. When someone creates drama, you observe it like you were watching a television show, interested but not involved. You do not jump in to fix it. You do not take sides. You do not get pulled into the emotional vortex. You remain outside of it, watching their performance with detached curiosity. This emotional unavailability is devastating to toxic people. They need your emotions to feel powerful. When you deny them access, they lose interest quickly. You become boring to them. And boring is exactly what you want to be to a toxic person. Practice this by creating emotional distance even in neutral interactions. Do not share your fears, your hopes, your struggles with people who have not proven themselves trustworthy over time. Keep your emotional world private and protected. Only people who have demonstrated consistent respect, reciprocity, and safety get access. Everyone else gets a polite surface version of you. This is not being fake. This is being protected. And protection is what stops toxic people from targeting you. Machiavelli observed that the most powerful response to an enemy is not destruction. It is indifference. When you genuinely do not care about someone's opinion, their attacks, or their existence, they lose all power over you. And toxic people cannot target someone they have no power over. This is different from pretending not to care. Toxic people can smell fake indifference. This is actual indifference developed through perspective shift. You must genuinely see toxic people for what they are. Small, broken individuals trying to feel powerful by hurting others. Once you see them clearly, pity replaces anger. And pity creates distance that anger never could. You do not hate them, you do not fear them. You simply recognize them as irrelevant to your life. When someone is irrelevant to you, their provocations land in empty space. They insult you, and you genuinely do not care because their opinion holds no weight. They try to manipulate you, and you do not engage because what they want is not your concern. They create drama, and you do not notice because you are focused on things that actually matter. This level of indifference is only possible when you have built a life that does not include them, when you have goals that consume your focus, when you have people who genuinely value you, when you have self-respect that is not dependent on external validation. The toxic person becomes like a mosquito buzzing near someone focused on building an empire, noticed briefly, swatted away without thought, forgotten immediately. Develop this by investing your emotional energy only in things that move your life forward, your goals, your growth, your genuine relationships, your purpose. When these things fill your mind and heart, toxic people become background noise. They try to insert themselves into your attention and find no room. You are too full of meaningful pursuits to have space for their games. This indifference is the ultimate protection. You cannot be targeted by someone you do not care about. You cannot be manipulated by someone whose opinion is worthless to you. You cannot be hurt by someone who is irrelevant to your world. Build a life so full of meaning that toxic people cannot find a way in. The final protection is developing the ability to recognize toxic people before they establish a position in your life. Machiavelli emphasized knowing your enemies, but the greatest victory is identifying enemies before they become threats. Toxic people follow patterns. They use the same tactics. They show the same red flags. You must learn to recognize these patterns in the first interactions. Watch for love bombing. If someone is excessively complimentary, unusually interested, or moving the relationship forward too fast, that is a red flag. Healthy people build connection gradually. Toxic people rush intimacy to establish control before you recognize what they are. Watch for boundary testing. In early interactions, they will push small boundaries to see how you respond. They might make an inappropriate joke. They might ask overly personal questions. They might touch you without permission. These are tests. Your response determines whether they see you as prey. Watch for triangulation. They will mention other people constantly. They will compare you to others. They will create competition for their attention. This is a manipulation tactic to keep you off balance and seeking their approval. Watch for inconsistency between words and actions. They say they respect you but show up late. They claim to care but never follow through. They promise change but repeat the same behavior. Words are easy. Actions reveal truth. Watch for victim narratives. If everyone in their past wronged them, if every ex was crazy, if every friend betrayed them, you are hearing a pattern. Either they attract dysfunction or they create it. Either way, you will become the next villain in their story. When you see these patterns, you do not give them the benefit of the doubt. You do not wait to see if you are wrong. You trust the red flags and create distance immediately. Better to be wrong about a potentially good person than right about a definitely toxic one. This pattern recognition is developed through experience and study. Learn about narcissism, manipulation tactics, and abuse patterns, not to diagnose others, but to recognize warning signs early. When you can identify toxic people in the first conversation, you never give them access to hurt you. They move on to easier targets who do not see them coming. You now understand what made you a target, and what will make toxic people stop choosing you. You are broadcasting signals of empathy without boundaries, conflict avoidance, approval seeking, and self-doubt. These signals attracted predators who recognized easy prey. But you are changing those signals. You are disrupting the broadcast that drew them to you. You are becoming someone who gives empathy only to those who earn it. Someone who confronts boundary violations immediately. Someone who does not need approval from people who have not proven worthy. Someone who trusts their own perception of reality. These changes make you invisible to toxic people hunting for victims. You are implementing the mirror defense, reflecting their tactics back with superior control. You are applying the cost principle, making abuse so expensive that it exceeds any benefit. You are removing their fuel source through emotional unavailability. You are wielding indifference as a weapon they cannot counter, and you are developing pattern recognition that identifies them before they strike. This combination creates complete protection, not because toxic people stop existing, but because you stop being selected. You move through the same environments, but you are no longer prey. You are a predator detector and eliminator. The transformation is not overnight. Old patterns have momentum. Toxic people already in your life will not leave quietly. They will test your new boundaries. They will escalate to see if you are serious. This is when you must be absolute. One test, one consequence. No explanations, no second chances, no working it out. They adjust or they are removed, period. New toxic people will still approach, but now you recognize them in the first conversation. You see the red flags, you trust your instincts, you create distance before they establish a foothold. Over time, your life becomes clean, the drama decreases, the manipulation attempts stop, the emotional vampires find other sources. Not because you became cruel, but because you became protected, because you changed what you broadcast, because you made yourself expensive and unavailable, because you became genuinely indifferent to those who do not deserve your attention. The call to power, your protection starts now. You have been a target because you were trained to be one. Society taught you that empathy means tolerating abuse, that kindness means accepting disrespect, that being a good person means letting toxic people drain you. These teachings created the signals that marked you as prey. But you are disrupting those signals now. You are becoming someone toxic people cannot afford to target. The person who emerges from this understanding operates differently. They are empathetic but boundaried. They are kind but not available for abuse. They are good but not weak. They see toxic people clearly and remove them efficiently. They do not explain. They do not justify. They simply protect their peace with absolute consistency. This transformation requires daily practice. Every boundary you enforce builds protection. Every manipulation you recognize and dismiss strengthens your defense. Every toxic person you remove clears space for genuine connections. Start today with one change. Pick the signal you broadcast most strongly and disrupt it. If you are conflict avoidant, address one boundary violation today. If you are approval-seeking, disappoint someone without trying to fix it. If you doubt yourself, trust your perception once without second-guessing. Each disruption weakens the target on your back. Each change makes you less attractive to predators. The toxic people in your life will notice. They will test whether you are serious. Hold firm. Execute consequences without discussion. Show them through action that you are no longer available for their games. New toxic people will still approach. But now you will see them coming. You will recognize the patterns. You will trust the red flags. You will create distance before they can establish control. Within months, your life transforms. The drama stops. The manipulation ends. The emotional vampires move on. Not because the world changed, but because you changed what you broadcast. Machiavelli taught that the prince must be both lion and fox, strong enough to fight threats and clever enough to avoid traps. You are becoming both. Strong enough to enforce boundaries and clever enough to recognize toxic people before they strike. This is how you stop being targeted. This is how you become untouchable. Your protection starts now.